What's going on, everyone? So, the San Antonio Spurs could be missing out on Kevin Durant. I know some people are kind of mixed on that. Obviously talked a lot about Kevin Durant in the recent days because, Spurs are a team that's really heavily in the mix. But reports came out that, look, San Antonio's not going to be aggressive. They're not going to overpay for Kevin Durant, right? If they can get him at kind of the price that they want, they're more than happy to acquire him. But they're not going to sell the farm in order to acquire him, right? And also one of the things that I've talked about is you can't just, if you go trade for Kevin Durant, you got to keep in mind, you can't just stop there, right? Because at that point, you're all in. You can't go trade for Kevin Durant and then go oh, hey, we're going to carve this out for 2 or 3 years. No, you got to go get Kevin Durant, and then you still got to make other moves to solve your other forward position and so on and so forth, right? And question is, does Kevin Durant to the Spurs, does that really elevate them enough to be a true contender, right? Again, you get the right matchups, the dominoes kind of fall your way, you stumble into the conference finals. That's a real possibility. Maybe you even go on a Indiana run, which I think is a lot harder in the West than it is the East, but still, maybe you go on some crazy run, catch fire at the right time, and you're in the NBA Finals. But to be a true contender, one of those 3 to 5 teams that everyone just consensus looks at and goes, those are one of the teams that are winning the championship, right? OKC example being one of those teams. I don't know if Kevin Durant does that for the Spurs. I think there are a lot of other factors and elements that get involved, such as, what does Wemby look like in year 3? What does De'Aaron Fox look like after a full training camp and off season? And is he able to start to impact winning for the San Antonio Spurs? What does Castle look like in year 2? What is, a Dylan Harper? What is he able to do in year 1, right? Because you have a De'Aaron Fox and a Stephon Castle that you're trying to get heavy minutes in and stuff. Does Dylan Harper kind of become the odd man out at some point? That's something you definitely got to keep a mind on, right? But all of these factors, right? Still, if you can get a Kevin Durant, you go get a Kevin Durant, right? If you can get him at the right price. However, it looks like the Kevin Durant sweepstakes may be coming to an end because the Miami Heat, supposedly, according to Brett Siegel, is close to being done. The only thing is that Miami doesn't want to give up Khalil Ware. But if they're willing to give up Khalil Ware, according to these reports, they could end up landing a Kevin Durant. So again, this is per Brett Siegel. Teams around the league believe the Miami Heat are close to the finish line in acquiring Kevin Durant and may need to add Khalil Ware to the package to finalize the deal. Again, this is per Brett Siegel. Although the two sides are not right at the finish line yet in trade talks, one player can get them there. That would be Khalil Ware, a rookie standout in Miami's front court, who is a giant with a 7'4" wingspan and two-way potential. If the Heat include Ware in a revamped package to what they have already offered, talks with the Suns will reach a whole new level, as he is the player Phoenix wants in discussions with Miami. So again, according to this report, if Miami says, okay, fine, we'll give you Khalil Ware, that could change things. Right? And for Miami side of things, to me, I think it's what do you want to do, right? What's your plan here? Do you look at the Eastern Conference next season and go man, it's going to be wide open, right? Boston's probably on its way out, right? They're already fielding talks and trades and stuff for a Jaylen Brown and a Derek White. They're already shopping Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, right? Jason Tatum, obviously, he's going to miss all of next year. So do they look at it as okay, you got no Boston, you got Cleveland, Indiana, and New York, right? Orlando, they just made a move for Desmond Bane. So does Miami look at that and go hey, we could be right there in the mix with the Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero, right? Add some key pieces, and we're one of those teams right there, if not the team right there, and we're in an NBA Finals again, potentially trying to win an NBA championship. If that's what they view it as, then you give up Khalil Ware and you go make it happen, right? That's what you do, right? You go make the move, you go make the trade, you do whatever you have to do in order to go get Kevin Durant, to go make your push and push your chips in and get it done now. If you don't feel that way and you don't believe that that's the move that makes you a contender, then you keep Khalil Ware and you stay the course, right? Talked about it with the San Antonio Spurs, right? If San Antonio truly believed that Kevin Durant was the piece that puts them over the top and potentially winning a championship, obviously nothing's guaranteed, especially championships. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But if they thought Kevin Durant gets us right there at least. And in that conversation, I think the Spurs would have already made that trade. Same thing with Houston, same thing with anyone else, right? If teams looked at Kevin Durant as like, he is the guy that is going to put us in contention status, Houston or San Antonio would have already made this trade, would have already gotten this done. But they haven't, right? Which to me believes that they don't really believe that him by himself is enough, that you'd have to make other moves and other changes, right? Now, this could be just a simple ploy by the Miami Heat, or really the Phoenix Suns, right? You have Houston, that reports came out earlier that Houston is willing to kind of call Phoenix's bluff, that they believe the price will drop. They don't want to give up, all of the picks and everything that goes into a potential trade for Kevin Durant. San Antonio, supposedly they're willing to kind of do the same thing. So you have the two teams that could probably give the best package for a Kevin Durant trade, both going, we're going to be patient and we're going to see what you do. We're going to call your bluff and assume that you're not going to be able to find a better trade and that you're going to have to drop your price. And then one of us will end up getting him, right? Again, maybe a Toronto comes out of left field with that. The reason Toronto might be willing to do that is because they would have Kevin Durant's bird rights. And with Durant's age, kind of the way that contracts go with that, right? Like they would be able to pay Kevin Durant more than anybody else, right? So they're kind of looking at it as if we get him, is he really going to leave? Is he really going to turn down all that money? And where's he going to go sign? How many teams have the cap space in order to decide, is he going to go back to Brooklyn, right? So those are all factors and elements. But team like Phoenix, they could be looking at Miami and kind of getting this report out so that way they could go, hey, look, we're Miami is a Khalil Ware away. If they start getting the itch and go like, hey, all right, fine, let's do it. We're taking that package. We're taking that trade. Houston, still want to call our bluff? Hey, San Antonio, you still want to call our bluff? You still think is that? You better hurry up, right? Price is getting higher. Khalil Ware, Miami pulls that off. KD's off the market, right? And kind of try to force these teams' hands. Now, it's very possible that these teams look at it and go, one, Miami's not giving up Khalil Ware. Two, even if they do, not the end of the world, we'll just move on to the next target, right? Spurs, supposedly, there have been reports that they're kind of holding their assets and saving their assets for a potential Giannis or a potential Jaylen Brown or, another guy that could potentially come out on the market, right? So that they want kind of a younger star. You have teams like Houston that, look, they're still going to have a plethora of assets and young players and all those things to where if a Giannis becomes available, guess what? They're right in the mix for that, right? And what happens with OKC, right? Like, if OKC ends up losing this NBA Finals, do they go and kind of panic and go, we need to go get a Giannis? Do they maybe even go, hey, let's go get a Kevin Durant? Do we win the NBA Finals? Is this finals already over if we have a Kevin Durant, right? I'm not saying that they will. Who knows, right? So, again, whenever you see these reports, whenever you hear these things, you always got to look like, okay, who do these benefit? Who do these reports benefit? And where are they coming from? Okay, like, are they coming from a neutral site or are they coming from, a sun source, right? Like, all of these things, right? So, to me, yes, I do believe Miami, if they include a Khalil Ware, right, it looks like it'd be Andrew Wiggins plus Khalil Ware plus, whatever other stuff, right? Like, that maybe that would be enough to entice a team like Phoenix to get it done, right? Especially based on kind of the package, like the Spurs package supposedly is Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, the 14th pick, and then multiple second round picks, right? Can take all that stuff with a grain of salt. We don't know for sure. It's not like we're talking to San Antonio's like, hey, this is what we offered. No, it's reports, the telephone game type thing. So keep that in mind. But, they're looking at but Devin Vassell is an awkward fit for them because they already have a Devin Booker. They already have a Bradley Beal. Do they need another two guard? Probably not, right? So, would it make more sense maybe to go get a Khalil Ware if they're willing to offer Khalil Ware? Again, same thing with a Houston, right? They want to trade Jalen Green in any type of trade. And Houston the Suns are like, dude, we don't need a Jalen Green. We have a Devin Booker and a Bradley Beal. We don't need another two guard that, has his inconsistencies and stuff like that. Yes, he's young, he's talented, but you got to find a third team for him, right? So, again, could they look at it and go, Andrew Wiggins would solve our 3 spot, right? So, we basically get a 3-and-D wing to kind of offset the loss of Kevin Durant. And then we also get a center that can slot in. So we kind of solve that problem, right? And then whatever else you can get to get these deals done. It's going to be kind of interesting, right? But we'll see what the Spurs do and see if the Spurs does this kind of incentivize the Spurs to maybe, okay, fine, we'll give you another first, right? Maybe up it a little bit. I still don't think the Spurs are going to sell the farm, but could they maybe kind of up the price a little bit more? We'll see. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. And that subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.